Get him onside. No Dan Ginnane. Do not fret though, folks. There has not been a mid-season transfer. He'll be back very, very shortly. He called brilliantly, by the way, last night in the State of Origin. Sean the Trader, hello to you.
Joel Kane. Now, we're blaming tech issues, are we? But I think there might be a little bit more to it.
Really?
Dan's little, week off or day off here. Did he stand under the weather to you?
No, I'm going to stand. I'll tell you what, I'm going to stand up for the great man.
No, we're only joking.
He is the ultimate supremo professional, and if he could be on the show, he would. But we'll get him back very, very shortly. Let's get straight into this, Shawnee. Queensland 26 defeat New South Wales 24. People were saying, this has been the gag, they're saying that New South Wales would be kicking themselves, but if they did, they'd miss. We couldn't kick goals, could we?
So 5 tries to 4. Sure, it's been a strange old year in the NRL. This happened at the start of the year a couple of times as well, where was it the Bunnies may have been outscored in the try column, still win the game. So kicking, as you well know, Joel Kane, one of the great kickers of our generation, knows very, very important. Now the tinfoil hat brigade, they've been out and about today. Lopsided penalty count. Have you got a view on the penalty count in the first half, Shug? Well, I do. I've got some strong views.
And I actually like your views, which would be contrary to most people. He's a contrarian, no doubt about that. Our man Sean the Trader, Fog, father of George, who he had you up early this morning, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So if I'm a bit under the weather, I apologise. But we march on, Shug.
Was his first Blues loss? He couldn't sleep.
Yeah, he wasn't happy. And and he let me know going into it as well. He wasn't happy with my +7.5 ticket either. But hey, a win's a win, Georgie.
Yeah, Dad, why are you doing that?
Yeah, I know.
Dad, why are you doing that?
Live and learn.
So let's talk about this penalty count. Now, my only observation is this, right? And I actually love your view. My observation is, look, 8 penalties, that's fair. Okay, that's fair. If that happened, that's fine, and it probably was fair.
Yeah.
But surely Queensland did something in the first half that warranted 1 penalty. That's my only view.
Well, the first thing that's not going to make it sort of marry up really evenly is the fact they didn't have a lot of ball in the first half. So hard to receive penalties when you don't have the ball. They were even giving away penalties when they had the ball. That's how bad they were going. Zach Lomax with the elbows. That's a clear one. Yep. Went through them forensically, Shug, this morning. We had an obstruction call. There was high shots. These aren't just penalties of opinion that Ashley Klein was paying. He had no choice. So the discipline was horrendous. Matty Johns probably summed it up perfectly himself on his podcast with Cooper. Just said the discipline was rat's ass. It was no good. They've got no one else to blame but themselves. And in today's footy, you can't give up that much ball, that much good ball, and walk away with a scoreline that didn't read what it did.
I love this. I am flying the flag. I'm the El Presidente of supporting referees. We need them in the game. Just because the penalty count is 8-zip does not mean that the referee has hammered aside. It might be. Stephen Crichton was interviewed on SEN by Brett Notty-Kamali, and he said our discipline was poor. So maybe
they also won the set restart count in the first half. So in today's rules, you can only give away penalties in a 40-metre zone now. So it makes it pretty hard. When you don't have the ball, even harder. But there wasn't too many that were just judgment calls. He wasn't giving away penalties for creeping half a metre too early. It was high shots. There was obstructions. They were clear as day penalties for me.
Absolutely. Now Brian To'o become Brian Treacle. He scored 3. He scored 3.
Have you used that before?
I have. Yeah. I've reheated that.
Yeah.
Ding. Are we in a rare air era for players scoring hat-tricks and getting beaten? It feels like in the last 5 years we've seen so many people score a hat-trick and get beaten.
Rare air era. We might be. Hey, so your best bet was Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. Did you know he was playing right?
No, we jagged that.
Yeah.
We jagged that.
Bit of intel.
Yeah, we jagged that. So
it's actually funny that Queensland sort of made their change to try and counteract Zach Lomax in the air as opposed to going after a strength of Xavier Coates in the air. Little mind game there.
Nothing better than when you have a best bet. Now, I've got to be honest with you folks here. My best bet was around Tommy Dearden, outball to Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. But when you have the bet right, but the plan went wrong, doesn't matter. They don't draw pictures, do they?
If you were to watch that in a mirror, it looks perfect. Sure, you had it down to an absolute T. Yeah,
and I think I've got the lead in the best bets too, by the way.
Oh, do you?
I think so.
No graphic to prove that though, Shug. Timing's everything.
It petrified me at the time, Shawnee.
Yeah.
Cameron Munster. What a performance. And I want to ask you this. Where does he stand? Like Cameron Munster, if you had to say to somebody of yesteryear that this kid coming through Cameron Munster will be like who? Like where's his level now?
just in the Origin arena.
Yeah, where do you think?
Well, he's got to be right up there with the absolute goats of Queensland.
He has to be, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a little bit annoyed at myself for not finding the narrative man of the match here, because I don't think, there was a few sort of mistakes in his game as well, but he scored the try and he did a lot of good things as well. But the narrative of man of the match got him the medal. I think Kurt Capewell was best on ground, wasn't he?
Unbelievable.
And to anyone that found Capewell or backed him in man of the match and you haven't collected, my heart goes out, because that was an incredible find. For him to get anywhere near winning the medal was huge. I couldn't have found him at 500 to 1.
I know someone who didn't find him, and I don't know who asked the question. Did you see this?
No.
Where a journalist, I don't even know if they were a journalist, but they asked the question to Capewell, hey, Kurt, how do you feel about, or something like this, how do you feel about having the most missed tackles in the comp? I didn't know. So he pretty much silenced him. I'm tipping he didn't back him. We are going to be on Sunday night again, Shawnee, so that'll be our review show. I hope you're enjoying the review show. We're very lucky to have the curtain raiser, which is the Matty John show.
There isn't a better lead-in, right, in all of Australian television, maybe worldwide television, the way just to get in behind the absolute gun run. We're the Stephen Bradbury of TV shows, and we don't care.
We need a graphic of us just holding onto the back. That's what we're doing there, folks. So we're going to be there this time around. Of course, there's a 6 o'clock game, so we will be at 9:10 following the Matty John show. Let's get into round 16, the preview, Shawnee. The West Tigers. Hammy Goodman refers to Leichhardt Oval as the 8th wonder of the world. He calls Campbelltown the 9th wonder of the world. And at the 9th wonder of the world, the West Tigers will host the Canberra Raiders. I reckon there's a big in here, Shawnee, for Noah Pole.
Yeah.
Or as Brian Fletcher would call him, South Pole. He returns. He's a big in. Alex Twile returns as well. And Talon De Silva is back into first grade. He is on the duty bench.
So I think right now we're expecting Luai to make the short backup to Friday and play here. So essentially, I can't see them really missing anyone from their best 17 or the best 17 available to Benji. So they're full strength. Tamale, who's been huge for the Raiders, he misses out. Hudson Young, again, we think he's going to back up. This is a very tricky game. You just have to go with the Raiders, don't you? They are flying at the moment. Now, the line is big enough. It's not really a massive trip for them, though. I think I can only be with the Raiders here, Sugar. I know you've got some numbers around the West Tigers tries conceded. What do you got?
Yes, I do. I do. The concern for Benji Marshall and the debutant Jed Stewart will enjoy this, that's for sure. He's likely to play on the left-hand side, but it's more the centre-right position, them defending the West Tigers, which has been of great concern. So that's the worry for Benji Marshall. I tell you what, this guy here I'm about to show you, I think he is a dead set fluker's chance.
Yeah.
Well, not a fluker's chance. He's worked his ass off his whole year. This guy could win the Clive. If Canberra won the comp, he could.
The Clive?
He could. At a price. I'm telling you, this kid is going to be very good. On the Get 'em Onside Legend series, Shawnee, if you haven't caught up with Bobcat Ryan, please do that.
It's cracker. Yep.
We caught up with Craig Wing. Catch up with the Bobcat Ryan one. And he's coached all these youngsters through the New South Wales Origin journey, the 19s. And I said, of all those great kids, who is the best, the brightest future? Ethan Strange. And when he said that, I thought, yeah, this kid can play. This kid, if you knew they won the comp, the Raiders, he might have pinched the Clive Churchill.
And he is a kid as well. Probably take for granted still how green he is. No pun intended, but he's still got a lot of footy obviously in front of him. And probably what's scary to the rest of the comp is a lot of improvement naturally, just as he gets older and more experienced. Tigers line breaks are still well down the bottom of the table. Jump on the match preview on the Sportsbet app, Shug. We've done a little preview there. Some numbers around their line breaks. It's bad news. They're ranked 14th for line breaks conceded per year. Per game. They concede a lot of tries from long range. The Raiders like to shift the ball around. I think with an even amount of footy, the Raiders are way too strong for him here.
Now we have the Master versus the Apprentice. No Origin players here. Here, there are no Origin players. Ivan Cleary takes a young Panthers side to take on Andrew Webster, the man who plied the trade underneath Ivan Cleary. Tell you what, Shawnee, we don't have these numbers on us. It is a question for down the track. But I reckon in his coaching career, Andrew Webster, for what he's achieved, the prices they would have been in games.
Yeah.
His return just cold backing the Warriors under the tuition of Andrew Webster.
ROI.
Oh.
Just like your best bets on this show. sugar. Airborne. The Wars, they've done a lot of travel the last 6 weeks. They've been in Australia. 5 games of the last 6 were in Australia. A lot of green ticks, a lot of wins on those occasions. The one they actually dropped out of those 6 games was at home, but it was against the Raiders, who I think the whole comp is now respecting as a proper top 4 premiership contender. So their form line is very good. They get off the bye, they get to go home, they get to play the Panthers without their stars, and these are the numbers that are very telling. So we're going to look at some numbers here about Penrith when they play the Newcastle Knights in round 12, again, without a whole host of Origin players. They were absolutely lapped. Look at the run meters there. This is a big deficit, almost 400 run meters, post-contact, well down compared to the Knights as well. But the bottom 2 is really alarming. Line breaks conceded, 9 they conceded on that occasion, and they missed 50 tackles. So Ivan Cleary, he doesn't have the a magic wand without those players, and they are the absolute upper echelon of talent. That's a big sort of speed bump to overcome, and they're not overcoming it here. I think the Wires do this pretty comfortably.
Yeah, he's certainly not conceding the game, no. Ivan Cleary, but the mathematics around it, Perth, and had they won the series, maybe you celebrate. He may have factored that in as well. So you can understand why they have done that. Long term, they're trying to. And by the way, if they set the full team there, there are no guarantees of winning the game anyway. So Dane Laurie, not Blake Laurie. That'd be interesting. Blake Laurie at fullback. No, Dane Laurie. He'll be the fullback there for the Penny Panthers. Alamotti comes back into the side. He was the grand final hero. Alamotti. And Liam Henry returns from suspension, so he'll love him back into the side. But we have been thinking the same about this because, as you alluded to, Sean, the recent form line in this situation with all those Origin key players out, a huge chunk of their salary cap, we've both gone back to round 12. You showed us a graphic in this match, and I'm going to show you a player.
Ooh.
Dylan Lucas just...
he should have had 4 in the first half this night.
Absolutely destroyed him. Absolutely destroyed him. So I tell you, a guy that might be just salivating watching this, Shawnee, I reckon young Leka Halasima.
He is flying. He is a scary man to look at, and I'm glad the Panthers players have to try and contain him because I wouldn't like to.
You know, he's how many minutes on average per try for him is about in line with Lukey Metcalf. Now, at the start of the year, wasn't getting the same minutes. Now starting to get more and more. So he's a viable try-scoring option. In saying that, though, it's not my flair. And Dan Ginnane has, through Pigeon, sent you his selection.
Yeah, the Pigeon just dropped this off outside. He's on board with, I think, both of us. We're going to the time of Panthers' first try market. No try at all. So he's got the Wires winning big 2, courtesy of Dan Ginnane.
Thank you very much, Daniel. He'll be back very shortly as well. He's not a mid-season transfer, folks. He's going to be here. Dolphins take on the Newcastle Knights. Now, Shorty, on the feed, I have put up a 7-leg multi with all the favourites. And I've got to say, this one is just about the one that makes me most nervous.
Yeah.
The Newcastle Knights. On paper, probably look as strong as they have been all year. Dom Young, he finds himself on the wing. Played for the Roosters against the Knights last week. This time he gets their jersey. He's back. He looks up and about. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow and Kalen Ponga. They have the luxury of staying in Perth to potentially back up for this game here. Geez, $1.25. That's getting very short.
It's getting very skinny, Shug, and I couldn't back it with your money.
No.
I think Adam O'Brien's made the right call getting Dom Young straight back into the team at the expense of your boy, Fletcher Hunt, who's looked very, very comfortable at first grade level. That's a little watch out for me. I can't get the Finns anywhere near what the price are here. 10.5 head start. Now, they've been lapping teams. Last week, you can all not ignore it, but the Cowboys fully depleted at courtesy of all their Origin players. They went on with it and they did the job. I think before that, it was the Dragons as well. So form lines, you can't just copy and paste. Well, X beat Y, so Y beats W.
Yeah.
It's not how it works, but it gives you a little guide. And as you said, this is the best team the Knights have probably been able to put on the park, maybe all year. Bradman Best back, Fletcher Sharp, he's back after missing out.
Back.
Frizzell, huge. And that's probably the key for them winning this game is a forward pack. The Finns, they are depleted up front.
Felice Kaufusi adds to that.
Kaufusi is compounded that because they were without the likes of Flegler, Gilbert. They're all out for the year. Maxi Plath is missing as well. So they look a little bit light on. And that's where I think the Knights are going to have to. If they muscle up like they did against the Roosters, I know they lost the game, but they turned up for that game up front. If they can do it here and match them there, they're well in the game. When you've still got Kalen Ponga, Fletcher Sharp, you can actually put a few points on.
Imagine at the start of the year, Shawnee, I said two of the informed teams would be, I know the Melbourne Storm aren't quite there, but they were the pre-season favourites, remain that way. If you said, okay, Canterbury are white hot, there's a team who flogs them, there's a team who flogs the Melbourne Storm, and in 3 weeks, after going 0-4, they pile on almost 160 points. I don't think the Dolphins have been your top 10 picks.
Wouldn't have been in mine, no. And look, you can only judge them on who's been put in front of them, and they've done it very, very easily the last 3 weeks. Well, they must be averaging 50 points scored the last 3.
The last 3 games, they have piled on 27 tries.
Unbelievable.
27 tries, 9 a game versus the combined opposition of the Cowboys, the Dragons and the Bulldogs, only having scored 1. Jack Bostock, of course, plays a big part in all of this. But genuinely, their left-hand side is on fire, and it's because this guy, Katoa, talking to Matty Johns about this, Shawnee, his tempo, he just plays at the line at different speeds. So it's kind of a new dimension, if you like, to playmaking.
The key, again, as I said before, though, is he needs something to play off the back of. And they're very, very light on up front. So, look, if the Knights match him there, they're well in it. If they don't, he will have a field day.
Yep.
So it's a big concern.
10.5 at KO or Suncorp feels big. This game, neutral territory in Perth, it does feel big.
Yeah, and I think that might have been slightly overlooked. They're obviously the team listed first, so you can get caught up in the home ground advantage. It's not there. 10.5 looks big. I've just seen your Flair though.
Well, if the trend continues, and it's a price, $6, the Dolphins have been whacking sides, and we know that the Newcastle Knights are finding it difficult to score points. Look, you're probably saying, what's this bloke talking about? He's saying that the Knights are a big chance here, and now he's tipping this just at the price.
$6.
Pick your own line, minus 29.5. I could easily see the Knights winning, but I could equally easily see the Dolphins getting those fins up again and marching on resolutely. Okay, a bit of an unknown here. South Sydney hoping to get Latrell back for this game. The Melbourne Storm, very, very tough, Shawnee, to go from Perth, and then you're not going back to Amy Park. You're asked to go to Sydney here at Accor Stadium, 7:35 p.m. on a maybe cold, wintry night.
Maybe.
Well, definitely.
It's freezing in Sydney town.
Well, that's why Lewis Dodd, I think, the Englishman's been given the halves position again.
Holy hell.
He'll be there alongside, of course, the young superstar, Jamie Humphries.
Now, this is not their go, the Melbourne Storm. Night games, they like it fast. They like to move the ball around. They like to play footy. However, I've almost hit pause. Certainly I'm backing anything strongly early in this game because you need to know these 3 names that are on the extended bench for the Bunnies are the key completely to which way you land in this game. Cody Walker, Campbell Graham, Keon Kalamatangi as well, all named on the extended. If those 3 are in, A, the line doesn't start 12.5. B, I don't care what it gets to. I want to be with the Bunnies in Sydney.
One of your staples, isn't it? 6.5 or more at home.
You really can't go wrong with it. Home underdog.
No,
and a little stat about home dogs this year, Sugar. When they do win, A, they've got to win the game first. Average winning margin more than 13 points. You know I love a home dog 13 plus bet as well.
What's your best guess of Storm players backing up? Of 5. So you've got Munster, Grant, Liero, Coates, Stefano.
No, I think most of them do. I don't think, from memory, none of them seem to walk away too battered and bruised. The Queensland boys had to do a lot of work in that second half. So, no, I think generally, unless you're carrying a proper injury, you're going to back up.
Hand in glove is what we like here on Get 'em On Side, and this is one of those glove into the hand, or other way around, so to speak, which certainly isn't a hand in glove. The South Sydney Rabbitohs, we know their stat, left-hand side, 58%. They love going down that side. 52% on the right-hand side has been a problem for Coach Bellamy. So this guy who's chasing down Ken Irvine, one of my staples, so one of your staples is home underdogs. One of my staples is an underdog with a noted try scorer. So that's when you get the price.
Yep.
I think AJ, no matter what this scoreline's going to be, can find a way on the scorer's sheet.
You've done it back-to-back weeks with Lofi Khan-Pereira, massive outsiders, and you're getting north of even money. For a noted, he's the fastest to 50 in history, or equal fastest now. Your stat, Shug.
Yeah.
We've seen that around the traps these days as well. Can't talk you out of it. What's your Flair, though? What do you got for him?
Oh, the Flair. Let's go back to the Flair. What is my Flair, Shawnee boy? My
it's
Flair
got AJ
is,
involved.
Oh, yes, the zig and zag play. So the Melbourne Storm to win And AJ to score in a beaten side. And lucky Dan Ginnane's not here. I didn't realise the price. It's a little bit skinny.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Protest.
it's a red card. It's a
Protest.
Flair red card. My apologies for that. I didn't check that one.
That's a first warning, Joel Kane.
I can feel people behind the screens here saying, why aren't you talking about the maroon and the sky blue? You blokes from New South Wales, you won't talk about the maroon and the sky blue. Okay, well, let's do it. Let's talk about the maroon and the sky blue. Broncos taking on the Cronulla Sharks, Shawnee.
Sunday afternoon footy at Suncorp. You don't get it very often, and I think this is all set up for real Broncos footy. They found their mojo, albeit against the Gold Coast Titans. And the form line of the Sharks, said it before as well, it's not a straight copy and paste job, but the form line doesn't read good. 3 weeks ago, lapped by the Roosters without all their origin stars. They then get a suitable game. They get to go back to Shark Park against the Warriors on the road, lapped by the Warriors. And the game against the Dragons, for how they started and the ball they had, they probably should have won. They were looking like they were going to win the game by 40. Found themselves down at half time and only just scraped past the line of 11.5, win by 12 with a very lucky last-minute try. So I'm pretty big on the Broncos here. We've got some numbers. I just want to I've tried to weigh up really how their season is going, the Broncos, because we know where they sit on the ladder. They started really poor. They've missed a few gun players though as well. Reece Walsh back. We're going to see some stat numbers here. Around their line breaks conceded per game. Yep. They fare very, very well. Where they let themselves down is errors in their own half. They're ranked way down the bottom of the table. This is where Newcastle were killing themselves at the start of the year. So they're their own worst enemy there. And play the balls in their own 20. Now, that's off the back of those errors as well. They give up more play the balls in their own 20 than any other side in the comp on average per game. If they can hold onto the footy out of trouble, I think they're in for a big, big win here against the Sharkies, who are very underwhelming for me so far.
So are they not a factor for you, the Sharkies, in 2025?
Well, I've seen nothing in the last month that they're going to worry anyone really in September.
Oh, okay. Flair time.
Flair time. Broncos 13 plus off the back of all those numbers. If they just hold the ball, dry track, Sunday, it suits them to an absolute T. And also Katoni Staggs anytime. So we've got Sifa Talakai playing on the left. Centre position now for the Sharkies. I think they might have some fun in and around there. Staggs too fast for him.
Alrighty, there you go, folks. This one's a little bit tricky. It is at Allianz Stadium. It is 4:50 p.m. I think you'll find the time, maybe a bit earlier than that, on Sunday afternoon. The Roosters taking on the Cowboys. The Roosters taking on the Cowboys in I think it's the 4 o'clock game, to be honest with you. But
pick a time, any time.
It doesn't matter. It's Sunday afternoon. Let us say that much. Many players are being asked to back up. Now, I think there is one position in the top 8 between these two. There is not two. So this is a virtual 4-point swing.
Oh, you said it.
There it is. You agree, though? Do you feel like it's...
Well, yeah. I mean,
you see both these teams playing finals?
Probably not. They're probably after the same spot.
Yeah.
I tell you what, the Cowboys, they are under the pump. They need to scalp and very, very quickly. Don't know if it's coming here.
Tricky game. They went down to Amy Park, and let me tell you, I know the scoreline doesn't reflect it. They pushed Melbourne a long way. A lot of things went against them. Last week's an anomaly, so many players out. This is, as I said, I did the multi on the feed for all the favourites to win. This is another one that scares me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out how much of last week's result is sort of pulling their price down here. You can almost put a line through that forgive run, as we like to say, missing half their team against the Dolphins. The Roosters, though, and this is probably harder to get out of my head, they were so poor against the Knights. But again, that's the quickest thing you can fix yourself. When you stop making errors, any team in the world can fix that themselves. It's tough. I can't really find an angle. 6.5 it's that tricky little line, Sugar.
Roosters form line, it's been pretty good. Look over the last month or so, and 2 losses, but the 2 losses are the losses you probably want if you're going to have 2 losses. You lose by Canterbury by 4, Raiders by 2, and big wins against the Dragons, Dolphins, Sharks. Not great last week, but again, during the origin period, so maybe forgive that. But,
and we're beating the Bulldogs by, 22 or 24 at half-time or something. So they were well in that game too. So maybe they are just sneaking under the radar.
Okay, so for me, I've got the Flair here, and I do have concern around the right-hand side for Toddy Payton's side, the Cowboys, and Sandon Smith at a price. I think he can pinch a try. He's a good player.
Sanders Smith. You finally got one above $3 there.
I know. I do apologise. The red card comes out for me. Parramatta take on the Gold Coast. Now, there is no Mitch Moses. There is no Dylan Brown. So, tough assignment here for Coach Riles. Gold Coast last week, Shawnee, arguably one of the greatest performances or upsets of the year for Des Hasler against his old firm, he and Kieran Foran. And it was acupuncture to the eyeballs for Coach Seabold on the Manly side.
Does it say more about Manly, though, than Gold Coast? I mean, to be fair, the market wanted to be with Manly. They started at 10.5 or 11.5 point outsiders at home, the Gold Coast side. They're now going off favourites on the road, Sugar. I know Para's depleted, but Footy Dean, remember that game he had when Moses was out a couple of weeks ago? Had a blinder. Dylan Brown's probably the obvious one now to overcome. Hard to ignore that. But Joash Papali, he gets a crack as well. The big raps on him. I can't get over the fact that the Titans are a bad favourite. They've been road favourites 3 times in the last 3 years.
Have they?
Only 3 times, and they've lost all 3 games.
On the road?
On the road.
Yeah, wow.
They've been favourites on the road 3 times in all that footy. That must be 30-odd games. It goes to show how poor their last 3 years has been. They've lost all 3 of those. They're a bad favourite. Put me down for Para. In a little upset.
Okay. Oh, no. I'm nervous of that as well. And by the way, the psychology of sport, this sounds a little bit warped.
Psychology? Where are we going with this?
Well, I actually think Dean Hawkins, Joash Papali'i is going to play 5'8".
Yes.
I actually think Dean Hawkins, Footy Dean, will like the fact that he doesn't have a big household name, a Moses or a Dylan Brown alongside him. So it allows him to be the Pied Piper.
Big dog.
So I actually think that it sets him up for the opportunity to have a great game there. The flair, though, goes to our man Dan Ginnane, which you have.
Yes, the Pigeon has dropped off another one for us here. It looks like he's expecting a lot of points in this one. Hard to argue. Sunday afternoon footy. Loffy Canberra, your man, has got him to score 2 or more tries. Also into the Fox anytime. North of $7 there, Sugar.
Okay, Canberra into Fox anytime on Fox League. You'll get all of that. You can watch that game. Then you can watch the Matty John show. Then you can hang around for us. We hope, we pray, for Get 'em Onside. We look forward to that. So that is what's happening on Sunday night. We'll kick off due to that later game at about 9:10 on Sunday night through Fox League, and KO have got you covered there. But anyway, let's get to a break. On the other side of this, the best bets. Hanging around for the best bets, sage advice, I would say. Shawnee, before we get into the best bets, and we do have Dan Ginnane's best bet as well, I want to ask you this. We've seen the best part of half the competition now.
Yep.
So we're now on the downhill slide towards finals, towards that September football. Right now we've got the winter, but we soon blast out of it. Gut feel, we get to the prelims. I love prelims. The 4 teams, the final 4 teams standing, based on what you've seen so far.
Okay.
What's your gut feel?
I just updated my numbers only earlier today, Shug. I've got the Storm, they're clear top seed for me. Clear top seed.
Right.
Then there's a gap, and there's 3 teams you could probably throw a little bit of a blanket over: Bulldogs, Raiders, and the Panthers. I think they're off scratch. If they're playing each other on the moon, as we like to do, it's probably a scratch mark. The Panthers' issue is they're starting from a long way behind, though. So I think I've definitely got the Storm there. I've definitely got the Dogs and Raiders in a prelim. And I think you don't want to play the Panthers in those first 2 weeks of finals, because they're going to be favourites, I think, regardless of who they play, despite them being on the road and that team finishing above them on the ladder as well. So put me down for those 4. Storm, Dogs, Panthers, Raiders. Grand final, Storm, Dogs.
Storm Dogs.
Who you got?
That's the favourite way, by the way, with Sportsbet. You can Quinella them up. So $3.80. Dogs, Canberra.
Yeah, you've been on this for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, Dogs, Canberra. I'm worried. I think the Broncos can rattle home. I think the Broncos can really rattle home. There might imagine a big semi-final between the Broncos and the Panthers elimination. That would be huge. I tell you what I think the best outcome would be as far as vibe, energy for a grand final. Could you imagine going to Accor Stadium that first Sunday in October, and it's the Dogs versus the Wars?
Oh, wow.
That'd be pumping, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I reckon that's the best energy grand final.
I forgot about the Wars and all that.
$17 for that Cronulla. $17 is the way to do that. All right, folks, meatloaf, we've done a few of those in recent times. What's meatloaf? Don't be sad. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Well, it is bad. We want 3 out of 3. You've got Dan Ginnane. The Pigeons come back. You've got the late mail. Shawnee, what's he done?
The Pigeon's back. And I hope the RSPCA aren't watching. It's the hardest working Pigeon in all Australia. He's on anti-football. He's on the unders in the Warriors-Panthers game. I think he's tipping not many Panthers points. That's his angle there. What do you got for us, Joel?
So he's anti-football?
Yes.
I'm pro-defence. I'll tell you something about Adam Reynolds.
As well?
I'm going the unders as well. It's a shocking bet type, isn't it? But Adam Reynolds, he leads the charge for kick return, so repeat sets.
Yes.
40-20s and kicking to open space. So his kicking game's sublime. Cronulla have a very good kicking game as well. Why am I saying that? They'll be playing a lot of football at the back end. So I think unders. I think it's too high. 48.5. I want the unders here. Shawnee, take us home.
Well, we're zigging and zagging because I'm with the Broncos in a big way. Thought about 13 plus, sure, but I'm guilty of those meatloaf 2 out of 3. So I just say bat on ball, the line, -5.5, not enough. Daytime footy suits the Broncos to an absolute T, and the Sharkies form line is no good.
So there you go. Warriors, Panthers for Dan Ginnane. He's going unders. I'm going unders in the Broncos taking on the Sharkies. Unders, and Shawnee has got the Broncos.
Bit of positivity.
A little bit of positivity there at the start. So there you go. Folks, we're done and dusted. Dan Ginnane will be joining us very, very shortly as well. Sunday night, hopefully, we will be back with you. 9:10 p.m, you've got the Gold Coast taking on the Parramatta Eels on Fox League. Then you've got the Matty John Show. And then we're back with Get 'em Onside. Enjoy your weekend, folks, and we look forward to catching up with you on Sunday night.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.